Hello, entrepreneurs, designers, digital nomads, and business gurus. Welcome to our Circle Demos series. Today's episode is 5 e-commerce tips with Kristine Neal. Kristine Neal is an e-commerce pro, and we are very lucky to have her here, as well as she's provided us with 5 video clips with her tips, their tip clips, on how to get the most out of your online e-commerce experience for you and your clients. Let's bring Kristine Neal on just to say hello, and then we'll also have her here to answer some questions. Hey, Kristine, welcome to Circle Demos.
Hey, Sam. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've given us these tips, these e-commerce tips. A lot of these were pulled together from the work that you've done over the years, working with multiple various clients. I'm just curious. I mean, how long have you been a Circle member?
I've lost track, but I will say that I have some not so fond memories of Squarespace 5. It's a little bit of a traumatic situation that I'm going to get over soon, but it's been a while.
Yeah,
I've been riding this wave, so.
I'm sure there are many people in the chat who also share that opinion. And fortunately, we have turned the corner a lot and changed a lot and improved a lot since then.
So much. It's so fun to watch like Squarespace grow, just as like all of our other businesses have changed, and just, how does, even the e-commerce landscape has changed so much over those years. So, what we were doing then is really different than what we're doing now. So it's that's what makes this industry fun, though.
Absolutely. And it's so clear that you like to have fun with your work, especially in the tips that you're going to be sharing with us today. So we will be bringing you back sort of throughout the day in a live sense to answer questions. So folks, if you have questions for Kristine, go ahead and drop them in the chat as they come up. But in the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye to you just for now so that we can bring on the pre-taped version of yourself to give us these tips.
Sounds good.
All right. See you soon, Kristine. So if you're joining us from wherever in the world, Squarespace is a global product, a global company. A lot of you are living in different places. I see that we've got people joining us from all over the place. We've got Petra from Germany. We've got Sean up in the UP in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, in case you're not well versed in Michigan geography. As well as some other well-known faces. Wayne is in the chat. Sarah's also in the chat asking anyone else without sound. I apologize, Sarah, if you're not hearing anything right now. Oh, it sounds like you've got it back. Okay, I'm actually just a little bit upstream of that most recent comment. And Sean, who just found out about Kristine, looking forward to hearing from her and her incredible knowledge. Well, that makes 2 of us and possibly more. But without further ado, I would love to just share this first tip with you. So let's dive right into it. This is the first e-commerce tip from Kristine Neal.
The first thing to think about when you're planning an e-commerce project is talking about e-commerce and talking about e-commerce on Squarespace. And in my experience, there are 3 myths that routinely come up. And here they are. So myth 1 is that people feel like they need to know everything. Myth 2 is the myth that e-commerce is just too complicated, and so we'll just skip it altogether. And myth 3 is that Squarespace isn't the right tool for the job. We're going to address that head on with some actual facts. So let's get into it. Myth 1, I need to know everything. There's this belief out there that there are just so many moving parts, you have to know about all of them in order to even take on an e-commerce project. The mindset shift that I'd like to challenge you to take on here is that it's okay to not be an expert in everything. The beauty of running your own web design business is that you can say yes or no to whatever aspects you want to take on or you don't. So just be really clear about what's included and what's not. reiterate in several different ways what exact scope of work is going to be included. So if you love copywriting and want to include writing great product descriptions as part of your scope of work, great, add that in, talk about it on your website, talk about it in your proposals, talk about it again in your onboarding, or leave that out and tell people they need to come with copywriting if that's not something that you want to take on. It's okay to only include what you are comfortable with. This also really helps you position your client as part of the project's success because it tells them we're going to partner up to achieve the success of this website, the successful project, and here's what I need you to bring to the table to help me do my job. Long story short, you do not have to be the hero. It's okay to set boundaries on what you want to include and what you don't. Myth 2 is overall that e-commerce is too complicated. And this is kind of similar to myth 1, but it's really more about e-commerce in general. And there's this belief out there that there's just some kind of rocket science into how or why people buy. And if we could just trick people enough to add to cart, that will somehow boost our sales. And the mindset shift that I'd like to encourage you to take on is that simplicity is good, especially for e-commerce. So to put this into practice, think about how to create stable, predictable, calm environments. Nobody who's nervous has ever reached into their wallet, pulled out their credit card and said, yeah, let's buy. If people are nervous or they feel sketched out or like there's some sort of trickery that's happening, they're going to click away. And that's not good for your client in the long run. The other thing to just keep in mind here is that you can over-engineer a site. You don't want to be a roadblock. So anything that you're putting in the way, anything that stops people from getting from point A to point B, which is that add to cart button, that's a problem. Squarespace has already engineered a highly converting checkout process. Our job is to use really great content to compel people to click that add to cart button and then get out of the way. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. The last myth here is that Squarespace isn't the right tool for the job. And I hear this a lot, and it's a myth that I love to bust. So if people come to me and they say, oh, I think I should be on this other web design platform, I'll challenge them by asking why. And when they can't really give me an answer, that opens up a window for me to step in and help inform them about the powers of e-commerce on Squarespace. So just understand that all platforms out there come with pros and cons, and the grass isn't always greener. Also, there's a lot of perceived limitations about Squarespace e-commerce that are really based on 7.0 and not 7.1. So this is a great opportunity to revisit older sites you may have built, get them moved to 7.1, and offer them an e-commerce upgrade at the same time. Also, always keep in mind that we're not just factoring in selling goals when it comes to e-commerce projects. We also want to factor in cost, content, and ease of use. So let's compare some of these. This is my quick comparison chart. You can see I've got Squarespace 7.0 and 7.1 and some other platforms all kind of side by side here on some of the top things that I look for. So when it comes to things like product limits and product variations, you can see what a huge improvement just moving from 7.0 to 7.1 is. Another thing that's really important for e-commerce is navigation. So looking at how shop navigation is organized or what's included versus what requires a third-party app, to me is really important. The apps that you can find on other platforms tend to cost a lot of money. And for me and my clients, that tends to be a huge detractor. Lastly, content. As you can see, I've got star eyes about Squarespace 7.1. Content to me is so much the king that it's really a deciding factor when I compare platforms. So when I look at all of these things side by side, for me, there's a clear winner, and that's Squarespace 7.1. So that wraps up our first tip. I can't wait to share more. We've got other good things coming.
Other good things coming. Great. Thank you for that first tip, Kristine, Neil. Just to reiterate, really good stuff there. Really the three myths that you should be taking into account with thinking about Squarespace for e-commerce. You don't have to be the hero. Keep it simple. And Squarespace is the right platform for e-commerce, just in terms of content, in terms of built-ins and apps. It's really great. And these are resources, these are ways of thinking that we hope that you can bring to your clients. I'm not going to take any more time. I'm going to dive right into this next tip. It is a big one, and I think you're going to love it. So let's get right into it.
This is probably the most crucial part of the process, because obviously if you can't put your stuff out there, no one's going to be able to see it to buy from you. And for demo purposes, I chose the Pacero template from Squarespace, and you can see it here. The reason why I chose this template is because it is for this imagined Italian cooking class studio. And that, of course, is really compelling. So they offer classes that you can join. This would obviously rely on the Squarespace courses tool. But the one thing that it was missing was a shop. And so I've added this already in the navigation. So just imagine that it wasn't there. To me, I felt like this really needed a shop. It really reminds me of a client that I had during pandemic. They're a restaurant, and obviously they offered dining in person, but we had to find a way for them to make it through. And so we played around with adding different things to their shop, whether that was just bulk groceries or meal kits, and then eventually some of their own branded merch. Adding a shop is a really great way to take what's kind of a normal average site and make it a little bit more engaging. Like in this case, people who enjoy classes at Pacero will probably also enjoy the ability to take home some of Pacero's recommended products. So that's what we're going to add to their shop today. So going to the website tab, you can see that I've added already in advance here a shop. And this currently has no products in it, but you'll notice that it does have some categories. And there's a reason why I've put these in advance. And it will make more sense once I show you the sheet that we're going to be looking at. But to show you how to add categories and subcategories, let's go to the gear icon. So just remember, when you first add a shop, this section will be blank. So come to the gear icon, and on the categories tab, you'll see that I've already added groceries and then some subcategories, sauces, pasta, fresh foods, and then another main category of dishware. And if you need to rearrange them, you can always just drag and drop however you feel like it makes sense for you. The order of them doesn't matter for now. The only thing that matters is the URL slug. So to get that, you'll click on the three little dots and then edit. And you'll just note that for main categories, the URL slug is just /groceries here. But for subcategories, so for things like pasta, the URL slug is /groceries/pasta. And what you'll want to do is just make a note of these. I just open up a little notepad on my screen over on the side, and I just copy and paste all of these in so that I know exactly what the URL slug is for each category. And once you've done that, you've set the stage here to be able to have a successful product import. You kind of need to think of this as categories need to exist in advance so that the products, when they're imported, know where to call home. So the Squarespace CSV import can't create categories, but it can assign products to them. Now let's flip over to a spreadsheet and take a look at the products that we're going to be adding to our Pacero shop. Just think of a spreadsheet as a fill-in-the-blank exercise. There are some columns that we're going to keep the same across all the different products, and for everything else, just fill in the blanks. Let's start here at the top with my extra virgin olive oil product. And we can expand this so we can see a little bit better. So we have things that we'll be adding like olive oil, some ceramic dishes, some different sauces, different pasta, some fresh Parmesan. So these are all of the things that I want to add to my Pacero shop. And what we'll do is, imagine this is blank. We would just start filling in information. I always start with the title because to me, that's kind of like the homebase, and then I just work my way down. I assign it a couple different sizes because I want to be able to sell it in both an 8-ounce and a 12-ounce size. And then just paying attention to those first 2 lines only, ignore everything else for now. We'll just slide to the right. We'll note that I added a price for both of those sizes. I put the first one on sale because it seems like a good thing to put on sale. Stock, I've set to unlimited here because we're just going to sell as much as we possibly can. If we wanted to track inventory, we could come through and set these as a number, and that would allow it to show us out of stock when we sold all that we had available. Here's where that categories column comes in, and this is where it's important that you just make this match exactly what you had in your Squarespace site. So for my fresh foods category, the category URL slug was /groceries/fresh-foods, and so that's exactly what I've made it here. Tags, at this site, I'm not using them, but if I needed to add them, those don't have like a special formatting. So you would just add them separated by commas. And then the last items here are for if you were using carrier calculated shipping, you could pre-add the dimensions for the package. And then we're going to set these as visible, which just means, yes, I want them to display in my shop. And I've added a URL in advance for my products because I want to make importing as fast and easy as possible. So doing this will make sure that when I add my products to my shop, the images will already pop up and map to their corresponding products. Let's go back to the beginning here. So what you can see is then for my extra virgin olive oil, because this has a couple different size options, I've just left a blank, and I've done that for most products. If you have a product that only has one option, there's not like a size to pick from, just put everything on one line. So here for the fresh ravioli, everything is on one line. And Squarespace knows that if you have a blank here, that this information goes with what's on the line above it. Now, last thing here on spreadsheets, just keep in mind, if you are importing products for the very first time, you'll want to keep the first 2 columns, so product ID and variant ID, blank. And the reminder that you have is right here, non-editable. Don't edit, blank is good. And then the last one that I always keep blank if I'm adding products from scratch is the SKU. And that's just because I'm going to let Squarespace assign a SKU for me once I import. Everything else, so things like the product type and the store, these are all the same for every product. So just copy and paste once you have all your products added. And you'll just want to make sure to make your URL as SEO friendly as possible by having it closely resemble your product name. So you can always change all of this after import, but save yourself some time and just get it set straight from the beginning. Let's now flip over to Squarespace and see how this turns out, how we transform this spreadsheet, which I realize can look a little overwhelming, into an actual shop. So looking at our Squarespace site, we're still in our shop. It has nothing in it. It's sad. We want to be able to sell some pasta. So we'll go to the Selling tab and then Products, and we'll go to the Import button in the top right. And we'll choose our CSV file that we have downloaded. And on this screen, we'll just want to uncheck Update Product Quantities. The only reason why you leave this checked is if you already had these products added to your site and you were just using a CSV import to change stock levels. For other instances, uncheck it, and that will add new products to your shop. We will click Import and give Squarespace just a moment to process the products. Okay, import complete. It gives us a success message here that all of our products have been added. It just gives a little summary here. There were any errors, they will pop up. It will tell you what you need to go and fix. So if something did go wrong, it's easy to know what you need to change. But if you fill out the spreadsheet as you should, everything should come in here, added successfully. Let's look at what things look like now in our shop. Quick refresh. And ta-da! Pacero now has a shop. So you can see here, we have our sauces and all of the different sizes. Things have automatically been put on sale if they needed to be. We have different flavors for different products. Everything is here ready to sell. Now Pacero, who used to only offer courses, now has an online shop where fans and customers can take home a little piece of Pacero.
All right. That's a lot about spreadsheets, but you all made it through. And I feel like there's many of you who see the value in that and saving time, that you can control an entire e-commerce website through spreadsheets. Kristine, I'm bringing you back on stage right now live because we have a couple of questions in the chat I wondered if you could help me with. First from Stephanie. Is there value in adding tags in products? I've never found a need for them in my client sites, but wondering if there's something I'm missing by not using them.
Oh, this is such a good question, Stephanie. So I don't think you need to be worried that if you've not ever added tags before that you've done something wrong. I think that's okay. I do think that tags can, for more complex shops, help us add context or help people discover new things they might not have. When it comes, so there's kind of a couple different ways to think about this. For SEO, Google understands categories and can sometimes not understand tags as much. So I used to see people add a bunch of tags because they're like, look at all these keywords Google's going to read, but that's not really the case. So if you have to only add one or the other, definitely you're just looking at categories. But I do think that if you want to be able to get people moving around the shop, discovering new products that they might like, and you're using maybe some like advanced search or filter features or plugins, tags can really help with that. I always explain to people the difference between categories and tags as categories are like the aisles of a grocery store. So it might be like canned goods, cereal, produce. So they're what gets you into products that are alike in that sense. And tags are what connects things across aisles. So that might be things like organic or all natural. Like you could have an organic product that is produce, cereal, canned goods. So we're kind of like thinking about how do we connect things in this direction and then also this direction, if that makes sense. But if you've never added tags, if it just doesn't make sense, it's not relevant, don't worry, you're okay.
I love that analogy. It's like a grocery store. Kristine, have you ever worked in physical retail?
I have. Well, kind of. I actually worked in a grocery store for a little bit when I was finishing my MBA. Got it. So that's why I have a lot of like grocery store references.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy. I think that definitely clarifies the difference between tags and categories. I'm going to move on to this next question we have from Sayer. I rarely import since I work with small clients, but would love this as a template. Kristine, seems like an opportunity for you. Do you have a sample one to sell or anything to recommend? I think there might be even one that you can download from the Squarespace website, right?
There you go. Yeah. You can download that one right from Squarespace. So maybe Taylor could link it out, or we'll find a link. I also do have a YouTube video that I walk you through how to make your own template. I could certainly try to put together a product here, but guys, this is not a mystery. So I don't need to sell this to you. You can do this for a small shop, even if you can save a little bit of time manually adding products. This is where you can really start to be more profitable on your e-commerce projects. So take the win, even if it's, so you see, even for this Pacero, this small shop, bulk adding even less than a dozen products, to do that in a few minutes instead of a few hours, that's time back in my day.
Definitely saving us a lot of time. And just to add to this idea about categories, is that Sarah thinks about uses tags when listing books. That category is type of book, and tags are tropes, triggers, themes. So lots of ways to think about categories, lots of things to think about, a lot of ways to think about all of these. Let's move on to the next tip, if that's okay with you, Kristine.
That sounds good. Let's do it.
This next tip, a little bit shorter than the last one, not quite as much spreadsheets, but just as important. So let's hop into it.
Okay, next up is how to get paid for what you sell. And Squarespace makes this super easy with Squarespace payments. And we're going to just lean into that and help keep our business life simple. We can see all of the reporting for all of our transactions in one place. So Squarespace payments is definitely what you want to connect in order to get paid for the sales on your site. And this is a super simple process that only takes a few clicks. To get started, we'll head into settings and then scroll down to the selling section and click on store payments on the left. Just a disclaimer here, I'd started this process already. So my button here says continue setup. Yours will say something like get started instead. It's exactly the same. So to get started, you'll click on that button and this will take you into a Stripe page. And you'll need to just confirm some of your legal details. So like who owns your business, what's your social security number or tax ID number, depending on how your business is set up. Just the legal things about your business that you need for accepting payments. Now, since this is a fake business, I'm not actually going to be able to enter any information here. So just know that you'll fill this out and click all the way through. Once that's done, you'll be redirected back onto the Squarespace site, and this will just show as connected. And that's it, you're ready to go. So once this shows as connected, you can get paid for all of the transactions in your shop. And the reporting will show up in one centralized dashboard right on Squarespace where you're already doing everything else.
One centralized dashboard where you're doing everything else. Isn't that the goal of everything on Squarespace? Make sure that it's easy and all in one place for you and your clients. I know that this next one is related, so I'm just going to not mince words and hop right into it. Let's hear about tip number 4.
All right, next up, taxes, which I know is no one's favorite topic, but we're going to make it as easy as humanly possible by taking advantage of Squarespace's partnership with TaxJar in order to automatically calculate our sales taxes for us. Now, if you want, you can dig into the complexities of taxes, but just know that a lot of it boils down to where you live, where your customers live. So it's just really important that above all else, you have a local trusted accountant or CPA or lawyer, or somebody that you're working with who can help advise you about your own personal tax situation. But we're going to make sure that your site calculates tax correctly, and then you'll just want to make sure to follow up with your own accountant. Okay, so connecting TaxJar is super easy. If you're on the Squarespace Basic Commerce or Advanced Commerce plan, this is free. You don't need to sign up for a paid TaxJar account. You can subscribe to TaxJar if you want to take advantage of some of their other offers, like some advanced reporting or filing features. But again, if you have your own accountant, you probably don't need that at all. So just use the free version that's available to you, and that's what's going to automatically calculate those taxes at checkout. So to get started, this is going to work a lot like our Squarespace payments. It's super easy, just a few clicks. We will go to settings and then back down into the selling section and click on taxes. And this section is going to open up here so you can see TaxJar's available right here. So it will open up as an extension here and you can connect TaxJar. So once you hit connect, it will open a new tab in your browser and you'll be asked to log in or create an account for TaxJar, and you can just make your account anything you want. Obviously, I'm not going to fill this out because our Pacero is not a real business. Once you create your account, though, the questions are going to be very similar to the Squarespace payments ones. It's just going to ask you your legal business name, your tax ID number, what state you're registered in, like where's your business located. It should take no more than a few minutes at most. And once you are done, with that, it will automatically redirect you back to Squarespace, back to this tab here, and it will show as connected. And once that shows as connected, you will be done. This is the closest, like I said, you're going to get to setting it and forgetting it with taxes. Every transaction from here on out will automatically calculate the correct sales tax number based on the rules appropriate for your business and your state. So super easy.
Super easy indeed. Taxes definitely are complicated, but as much as possible, making them easy using TaxJar. Okay, we're at our final tip. And then, as I said, we're going to have Kristine back for just a general Q&A. So if you have other questions you want to ask related to the tip that you already shared or related to e-commerce in general, again, she's an e-commerce whiz and she will be back here to answer your questions after this last tip.
I'm going to share with you my most recommended shipping strategy, and I'll also show you exactly how to implement it. But first, why is this my most recommended strategy? It's not just because it's easy, it's because it's the most highly converting. So we want to make things as easy as possible for our customers. Don't put any roadblocks between them and checkout, and encourage them at all possible to add more to their cart and check out. And this is going to do all of those things. It also helps make sure that customers don't feel nickel and dimed or surprised by random shipping costs once they get to their cart. So, what is my recommended shipping strategy and how do you do it? It's got a few parts. Here's the first one. We're going to set up a flat rate shipping offer. So, something that covers the average shipping cost for most items on your site. So looking at our Pasero shop, I might set an average shipping cost of something like $9, $10, $11, something that's just an average, easy amount. If somebody was to pay it, it doesn't feel punitive, but it covers my bases for people who don't meet a minimum shipping threshold, which is the second part of our shipping strategy. Setting up a free shipping offer for orders that exceed a certain amount. So let's start with step one, which is setting up that flat rate shipping. And to do that, we'll go to settings, and then back in the selling section, we'll go to shipping. And adding a shipping option is super easy. And here is exactly how to do it. So a flat rate option here. So we can call this either flat rate shipping. We could call this USPS priority mail. This will show up in your cart, so you want to make it descriptive in some way, just whatever method you're using. And let's just say for my shop here, that I'm going to charge $10 per order if people don't meet a certain amount. And that probably covers most of my shipping costs for the average order. The one thing I do want to do, though, is restrict this because I'm not willing to ship anywhere in the world, or honestly, even anywhere in the United States for that amount. So I do want to restrict it to just the United States in this case. And sorry to our friends in Alaska and Hawaii, but you're going to get ruled out. And we're also going to uncheck the armed forces options at the very bottom. And that should leave us with 49 of 54 states and territories. The 49th one is the District of Columbia. So if you ever are setting up a domestic only contiguous United States shipping option, this will always say 49 of 54. You can add other options for Alaska and Hawaii. I wouldn't necessarily ship to those for free or for this low of an amount, but that will just depend on what you're shipping and where you're located. For this, for Pasero, this is going to be a good option. So that's it. So how do we cover everyone else? We will go in and add now a discount that says, if you shop in our shop and you spend, let's just say $60, that's a good minimum threshold for this shop. Your shop's going to be different. Just pick the amount that's just above maybe the average cart value. What we're trying to do here is encourage people to buy more. We'll come in to selling, and then discounts. And creating a discount is super easy. Again, we'll just kind of fill in the blanks. We'll start by clicking on that plus icon in the top right. And here we're going to say free shipping on orders over 60. And we want this to be an automatic discount, and we want it to be for free shipping. And we're going to say that it applies to orders over that amount, $60, and that it applies to that FedEx Ground option. And you want to be specific here, because if you do offer some upgrade options, like say for overnight shipping or some other express option, you don't really want to give that away for free, or maybe you do. So just choose your cheap flat rate shipping option here, so that restricts it and people can't get the express shipping. You'll probably end up losing some money on shipping that way. So just a little tip there. And we want to make sure this is always available. So it's unlimited in use. It's people can use it more than one time, and it is never going to expire. And once we have that all set up, we'll just hit save. And now when somebody is in their cart, they don't have to enter a coupon code or anything, so long as the subtotal of the amounts in their cart is greater than $60. The FedEx Ground, the free shipping option that I added, will automatically become $0. So what we've done here is encourage people to add more to their cart. And for anybody who doesn't want to do that, we've said, it's okay, we're going to charge you a really easy flat rate, $9 to ship. To ship your order in the domestic US. The last little tip here, this is not part of our shipping setup necessarily, but I would always recommend coming in and adding that announcement to your announcement bar. Let people know that that free shipping is available for spending a certain amount. So say right here, free shipping on orders over 60, and then we'll just link to our shop. There we go. So now whenever people come in, they know exactly what we're offering. We're encouraging them to visit our shop page and letting them know that they can earn free shipping, which is a huge motivator, just by spending $60. Now, my last tip for shipping setup is to use a shipping extension. And the reason for that is because it just makes your life a whole lot easier. If you're shipping a lot of things, you want to be able to get a little bit of a discount on your shipping labels and also process them in bulk. And I love using an extension for this. So any of them that Squarespace has works fine. You can use ShipStation, ShipBo, AfterShip, ShipBob. They all work pretty much the same. And what I love about Squarespace is that they've partnered with all of these extensions that are super popular with all e-commerce platforms. These are the magic to help making order fulfillment really easy, setting up people. If you have, say, a warehouse that you're shipping out of, they can operate out of their shipping extension without necessarily needing to be inside your website. So I think that a shipping extension makes a lot of sense for most businesses, and you should just pick the one here that makes the most sense for you. So just to recap here, shipping, we're going to keep it easy. Set up a flat rate shipping offer, set up a discount that offers free shipping on orders only over a certain amount, add that shipping offer to your announcement bar, that's your bonus, and then connect a shipping extension to help make life easier managing your business on the back end. And that is shipping in a nutshell.
And those are our 5 tips, but the tips are not over because, as I mentioned before, I'm now going to bring Kristine back onto the stage just to answer some of the questions that have come in as part of our last Q&A. Hey, Kristine, welcome back.
Hi.
So obviously, trying to make things easy is a theme throughout all of these tips, but e-commerce always has complications. So we're going to go into some of these more nitty-gritty detailed questions right now. Starting off with going back to the spreadsheet tip. Karen asked, where you store images for the product import. Also, where do you store images for the product import? Also, do the images get added to the asset library once they're imported? I know that there was an answer that someone gave to the second half of Karen's question, but your thoughts, Kristine, while you're here.
Yeah, and I saw that answer. So thanks. I think it was Sharon in the chat too. Yes, once you import images, they will get added to your asset library. To store them in advance, it kind of depends on the client. So if they're using Dropbox, that will sometimes give you that'll give you a URL. You could use Google Drive. I have another little image, I guess, repository that I use that you can grab links. I default to what my client is comfortable using. So if they're a Dropbox person, I'll just grab that link. Whatever makes their life easy, I will do, because that's my job. So wherever you can grab a link, it doesn't matter. Once it gets imported into Squarespace, it gets a Squarespace URL. So whatever the link was before is gone. So wherever is the answer. Wherever you want, Karen.
Wherever, like Shakira said. Let's another question from Karen. When importing products from a spreadsheet, how do you add additional info to each product?
Yes. So this is something that cannot be imported. And I know that's, it's a bummer, but when you think about additional info, the additional info section is so awesome and so robust because it allows you to add any regular block, just like a regular Squarespace page. So thinking about the additional info section in that way really helps you understand why it can't be imported, because how could you import an entire page's worth of layout content? So the workaround that I have for this is I do use the Square Websites Pro Chrome Tools extension, and I can copy and paste then save sections that I have otherwise. I love Squarespace save sections, but at the moment they don't work in additional info because they are classic editor and not Fluid Engine. So for now, that's the workaround. It works really well. I tend to kind of then group like products together. So if I have products that have mostly the same info, I'll just go in, copy and paste to get the majority of the additional info page added on there. And then it's easy to just go in and kind of change a few specs here and there as needed. Honestly, this is probably the most time-consuming part, but I throw on a podcast or some good music, and I just, you can get it done in an afternoon, really. And I just think, man, I'm getting paid today to listen to a great podcast. Just copy and paste.
You can listen to past episodes of Circle Live.
There you go.
Perfect opportunity to catch up. All right, getting more into taxes and specifically international taxes. Sarah was asking, does the tax calculation also work for international businesses, i.e. UK? I know that Taylor just shared a link to the support page, but any thoughts on this, Kristine?
Right. So if you're in the UK or in the EU or someplace out, even if you're in Canada, any place outside the US, TaxJar does not work because, it's a very US specific tax law thing. It's US taxes are complicated enough that it's almost like we have 50 different countries and each state is their own little country here. So you can imagine how complicated it would be to cover all of the world. So if you're in a place outside of the US, though, you can set up manual tax rates. And there's also the option to change how taxes are displayed at checkout. So whether, because I think in the EU, you have to show a tax inclusive pricing, if I'm not mistaken. And that's not how Squarespace is normally set up, but Squarespace does give you that option in settings. So that help article that Taylor shared is definitely the way to go for if you need to collect VAT or GST.
Excellent. Okay, let's taxes. Not everybody's favorite subject, but we're glad that we have you here to guide us through, Kristine. Another question here from Liz. So yeah, I think you just answered that. The TaxJar plugin is not available in UK, but you had some thoughts on how to share that.
Yeah.
And from moving on to something that is not shipping related, when working on the CSV as exported from Squarespace, it seems like there is no column for additional info when entering the product detail. Okay, so that was something that we sort of talked about, was the additional info. Put on a podcast, make sure that you have something to listen to while you do that time-consuming aspect of web design. Specifically in e-commerce. This question comes in from Sean. Where might we get a great A to Z primer on learning all we need to know about e-commerce in Squarespace that you recommend? I think one great source for e-commerce, getting yourself e-commerce, is actually this demo. Hopefully this has been really helpful with some of the tips. Another one is there's a blog post that my colleague Ariana wrote that's basically how to build an online store. It's a checklist. And Taylor, if you could share that link if you haven't already. But I don't know, Kristine, any thoughts on this? Any of your own content that you even want to perk up here?
Oh, I mean, I feel like on my blog, I have a topic or a post that covers almost every topic. So if you want to check out my blog, you can. I'm a person who learns by doing. So what I did when I was first getting started on Squarespace, or I do this even on like anything I'm learning for the first time, go in and just go into the back end of Squarespace, go into settings, drill into the selling settings section specifically, just click into each one, know where everything lives. And I think it helps you discover features and functions that you may not have known were possible. So I know that's not like there's not an encyclopedia somewhere for that, but I mean, just click into every single thing and start discovering it. There's so many cool features that are available to you. So good.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of cool features out there. Just because it seems like maybe Liz didn't get her entire question answered. She's back. My client is in US with a US shop. How can I use TaxJar for her if I am in the UK? Any tips on that, Kristine?
Yes. Hi, Liz. So you can. What the thing about it is that even for like my clients, I'm in the US. A lot of them are in the US. I actually have them do that on their own anyways. I don't need them to send me their most secret bank account, business information. What I do then is just show them, maybe I'll record a Loom, or depending on your workflow, if you have like a lot of people do a like screen share session when they're helping their client sign up for the right Squarespace plan and like subscribe for the first time. That's a really great time to say, okay, I need you to go to here, click taxes, and then get into TaxJar. It will be available to them because the feature is based on not your location, but the location settings of the site. So long as you set the site location in business information, like in, it's called language and region, I think. So long as that's set as US, you're selling in US dollars, all of that, the feature will be available to them. But honestly, you don't have to do this for them. And I think it's just as valid to say to them, like, let me help you find where this is. And I need you to go in here, and it's just filling out a form and clicking a button. I think they can do it. You got this. It's okay.
Part of the wonderful world of client services,
Yes.
providing them videos and making sure that they know how to do stuff on their own. Here's another question from Sharon Reeves. Does the shipping extension you mentioned address the issue of a client that might ship from different warehouses? Any other extensions you might recommend?
Yeah, I would definitely use a shipping extension for that. All of them, like I said, work basically the same way. You can set up rules in all of the shipping extensions to say you have SKU A that ships from this warehouse and SKU B that ships from this warehouse. You can have it so that, like when orders come into that shipping extension, it, routes them appropriately. So yeah, it's all possible within a shipping extension. The only other, any other extensions you recommend? I do have a few posts on extensions. I'll try to get links to Taylor so she can share them. But I think for shipping, you just need an extension. Just one, done.
Just one and done. And as you said in the tip, they all kind of work the same. So choose the one that makes your heart happy.
Yeah. Exactly.
We've got another question about TaxJar. Heather asks, for collecting and remitting taxes in US, do you know if TaxJar is a good option, or do you have another recommendation for doing this automatically since sales tax must be filed quarterly rather than paying an accountant? I know my advice is don't avoid paying an accountant. Find somebody that you trust, and especially if you're thinking about this in terms of a long-term business, you really need to start building that relationship because it's going to pay off long-term. But to the question about sales tax and TaxJar being a good option for US, do you have thoughts, Kristine?
Oh, I mean, I kind of tend to think exactly like you, Sam. I wouldn't avoid the accountant. I mean, yes, you could automatically or use TaxJar's automatic filing thing. Here's the thing, though, is I'm not sure it covers your behind. And I would make really good friends with an accountant who makes sure that you're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. They know your personal financial situation. They know your business finances. I'm not sure I would leave this. This is something I wouldn't automate personally. That's just my personal belief. I'm with you, Sam.
Not everything can be automated. So automate what you can. Not automate what you can, so you save that time. But I think that taxes are so complicated, and it's just going to pay off long term to have an accountant that you trust. Find somebody that you trust.
Exactly, and it's just because this on that side of things. Because TaxJar is great because we're just automating the part that is easy to automate, which is what we're charging our customers. But what I wouldn't automate then is how that impacts your personal financial situation. That's got so many layers and so much complexity. Yeah, I wouldn't automate that. That's my
answer. From Megan, what about US shops selling physical or digital products internationally? Do we have to collect or pay VAT? Is that something we need to worry about? And if so, does Squarespace have a way to capture that?
So TaxJar, I believe, does still monitor the amount of sales outside of the US. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm fairly certain. So you're not going to have to pay taxes even within the US. So I'm in Washington State. If I don't have to charge California residents sales tax unless I start selling like millions of dollars to California, which would be great, but it's not happening. So I think the same thing for international, unless you're, like Amazon. Most small businesses are not selling enough to meet those minimum thresholds that different states and honestly different countries have set that require you to charge and remit taxes. But giant disclaimer here, you need to do your own research based on your specific location and your specific business setup. So I can't speak to like every locality in the world. Definitely do some research. Like I had a client recently who was based in somewhere in the Caribbean. I forget what island. I was just very jealous. And, she was a Canadian who had like a US business address or bank account or something. And I was like, yeah, this is so complex. You need a real human who's very intimately familiar with that setup. Like this isn't something you can just crowdsource the answer to, get a professional.
Professional, absolutely. I have time for one more question, Kristine, and because I don't see one in the chat, I'm just going to ask one that I'm curious about. This is much more generalized, and this might be for people who are just getting started out with e-commerce, maybe don't even know how to talk about it with their clients. I know that the template that you used to demo a lot of these was Passero, but it was the pasta shop that's based off of one of your actual clients that you worked with during the pandemic. They didn't have an online shop, and you helped them develop an online shop because you were like, you need to find a way to make money. Outside of a global pandemic happening, I think that that's like a sense that a lot of Circle members have, is that they're working with clients who probably are not thinking about e-commerce in the right way, or maybe need a little bit of nudging. How do you approach that first conversation with a client who has never done e-commerce before, or maybe needs to be doing e-commerce in a different way? How do you get them thinking about doing e-commerce, and maybe start with the example of the pasta shop?
Yeah. So, since e-commerce is all I do, like all my clients, like we've come with e-commerce as a starting point, but pretend that wasn't the case. If Passero was my actual client and they were offering these really cool courses and maybe like a membership and doing this other mostly digital content, but I knew based on like working with them that they had like good relationships with some suppliers, that, they had a favorite ravioli that I could just only get through them, and I knew other people would like it too. I would just ask them. I would say, like, hey, Mr. Passero, have you ever thought about adding a shop to your site? I mean, the beauty of this is like, what's the worst that could happen? They could say like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Encourage people that they can start small. Like, it doesn't have to be this giant ordeal. Like we've shown here, like, look, if you can follow these few steps, if you can get paid, which we've shown you how to do, you can collect taxes, you can set up a simple shipping strategy. Those three things alone cover your bases, and encourage people to just try. I have one client right now. They have 2 products in the shop. They are not an e-commerce first company. They book adventure trips. That's their primary business. But they have 2 pieces of merch, and we're trying it. And it's okay to start small. So if you have clients that you feel like are selling maybe other services or digital goods, and you know that their business could be enhanced, just make the ask. You have nothing to lose, and you can help show them that they don't have to make any other big changes. It's all possible right there on Squarespace. We'll just give it a try.
Just give it a try, and don't be afraid to start small. Well, Kristine Neal, your expertise is so valuable. Thank you very much. We are at the end of our demo today. I want to thank you, though, so much for joining us and for sharing all of these glorious tips with us on getting started with e-commerce.
Oh, I've had so much fun. Hopefully this was helpful to everyone. I'm always available at KristineNeal.com if anyone has any other questions.
Wonderful. Well, we will see all of you next time. And actually, I forgot to mention, next week we have another Circle Live. I'll leave the link to sign up for that in the chat. We're going to be talking about expressing gratitude to your clients. So once you've built up all that client base, how do you thank them? Thanks so much from Squarespace. Thanks for being part of this community, and love seeing all your faces and voices and names. We'll be seeing you next time. So long.